Glad you made it back, kids. Telephone number for us is 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. All the politics that I laid out in the beginning part of the program, it all matters because we face real problems, and we have, frankly, children playing games in official positions of power in the state of Texas and on the national stage. Let me bring in somebody who's been following one of these serious challenges. There he is. His name is Jaeson Jones, folks. And you know what? I have such great admiration for his skill, for his experience. Jaeson Jones is internationally renowned border intelligence specialist. You can see his fantastic work on Newsmax. What's going on, my man?
It's good to be with you, buddy.
Cartel bigwig gets killed by the Mexi military, and Mexico is lit on fire. Give us the nuts and bolts first, and then we'll talk about the ramifications for the United States.
Yeah, bottom line here is this really illuminated not just to our own country, but the world, what you and I have been talking about for years when I came on your program, and that is the breadth and scope of these cartels. The killing of one cartel boss, El Mencho, who ran the most hyper-violent cartel in Mexico, also operating, I think it may stun a lot of your audience, in 48 countries around the world. The killing of one man caused this level of violence, what we call revenge violence, by not only Cartel Jalisco New Generation, but he was developing a federation. We hadn't seen a federation since Chapo Guzman and El Mayo back in the early 2000s. And that caused the revenge violence spreading 20 states. And then there's a separate part to this because all the other cartels said, if you can get Mencho, you can get all of us. And that's why you're seeing a major pushback within the media in Mexico, some media, to be very frank, in the United States, as they're pushing back because they know that this really is a changing time for the cartels of Mexico. But we got a long way to go, don't get me wrong. But it's
Sure.
I can't stress to your viewer how this is the Super Bowl of counter cartel operations that just took place.
Well, you know, Puerto Vallarta is on lockdown. It's a very big tourist destination. I'm sure Cancun is feeling it as well. All of the American tourist destinations, because the United States was also involved in this strike with military intelligence from the U.S., allowing this big wig and the cartels to be taken down. You know, Claudia Sheinbaum, the so-called president of Mexico, the socialist, she is on record saying that the reason why they couldn't crack down on their cartel problem was because they have constitutional rights. These foreign nationals that come in and set up the cartels. It was an excuse for Mexico to turn a blind eye and allow these people to garner this kind of power. I'd like to say that Claudia Sheinbaum is alone, but she has clones here in the United States, does she not?
What I would tell you on that front is that this has really surprised me. You know, a lot of people are not aware. I've embedded with the Mexican army twice in 2025. I went back was just in December with Samar, which is the Mexican Navy, on warship Pola, embedding with them off in the Pacific Ocean. It's stunning what has happened here. You know, you're absolutely right. Look, they're a socialist organization, period. That's the way the administration is. But you work with what you got, right? And I look at this from a counter cartel focus here. What we've seen in the last 13 months by the administration and because of the pressure of the Trump administration has been stunning. Going after the logistics in 2025 of the cartels really going after them. And when I tell you going after them, I've seen things I've never seen going back to the Calderon administration working these counter cartel operations. They seized 800 tons of chemical precursors in 13 months, 51 tons of cocaine. Just the Navy alone, they are up against something that is really illuminated to me far beyond anything. But what I would tell you is they will do it differently. They have a national strategy, but the pressure of President Trump working with them is really changing the game here. I have been unprecedentedly, and I mean this, surprised at what they have been doing. Now, don't get me wrong; this is a direct result of the pressure from President Trump.
Yes.
But like you said, those ties into the Socialist Party here, they're there. Make no doubt about it. But one thing that President Sheinbaum did that she deserves credit for, and this surprises, look, I've complained about Mexico publicly for 8 years, Chris,
Sure,
8 years publicly, right, on the national stage. But I got to give credit where one thing she did very well is she put Secretary Harfuch in charge. For those of you who are not aware, he is the public safety secretary. He leverages intelligence-led process. He's not a typical senator elected placed in a very high position. He's a pipe hitter. This man ran operations for Mexico City, dropped homicides by 50%. In 13 months, they've dropped homicides by 37%. Most Americans have no idea of this.
Right.
So it's incredible to see what they've accomplished in a very short time. Long way to go, though. Long
Right.
way to go.
Well, yeah. And you know what? I think, by the way, Jaeson Jones, our guest right now, he is internationally renowned border intelligence specialist, folks, and you can see his work on Newsmax. I think that Americans were a little shocked that about the retaliation, and this is what I want to get into the impact on the United
Yeah.
States. Americans and Mexicans were probably shocked to see local police outmanned and outgunned by these cartels who are, as you rightly know, well financed and well armed. I was taken aback. So let me ask you this: what impact is not only the strike on this cartel bigwig, but the resulting violence? What impact does it have on the United States?
Well, in phase one, this is revenge violence you're seeing. Phase two is the impact that he had on so many of the other cartels. What is just not realized is this federation he was creating. What happens in these smaller cartels with which he is propping up and been supporting, you'll have secondary violence, or internal violence, basically where savage on savage, now that he's gone and can't back them, those other cartels that have been supporting him, different factions internally, Chris, they didn't want this. They wanted their own strength, right? So now you're going to see the rise of that. Now, let me validate that to you, to your audience. Look at what Governor Abbott just did. He sent Texas Rangers, aircraft, and a whole lot of troopers to the southwest border. Now, why? Because Pramito, who runs Cartel de Golfo, that's in control from Brownsville all the way over towards the Laredo area before CDN takes over, he's losing power right now because he and El Mencho were like this. They were family friends. They grew up together. They were his backing. So that directly impacts us. So why are they doing that? Because they're fearful. As they begin battling, you will have a loser, and those losers will flee into the United States, not for violence, but to flee because they'll be slaughtered along with their wives, their mothers, their fathers. We've seen this numerous times in Texas when I was running intelligence and counterterrorism operations for the state. So that's what they're trying to prevent. Not that they're going to come here and create violence, but as they flee, look, we've seen where the Zetas were chasing down people, shooting them in the river. So you could have
Yeah.
violence that crosses that way. And that's what they're trying to prevent. But that's an example of those secondary and third impacts that Americans need to be told about through what we've been dealing with in the past and how strong these cartels have become. It's exactly why I worked so hard for 8 years to get them designated as terrorists. And thanks to President Trump, we got it done,
Got
Chris.
it done. And you know what? Right now, it seems to me anyway that while they start doing their turf battle, because you take out one of the big wigs, and then all of a sudden everybody wants his turf, wants his operations, wants to take over, and they're all going to fight for it. That's the time, in my opinion, that the United States military, the Mexican military, should strike. Let me just ask you though. I think a lot of people were taken aback. We all knew that the country of Mexico is corrupt. The country of Mexico's government is corrupt, and there's an internal battle. I mean, you think that the United States government is corrupt? Look at Mexico. If Mexico collapses into a failed narco state, won't the United States at that point be forced to act? And what do you know about what is being done to prevent that from happening?
I don't see that happening. I'll be very frank with you. I've been down there. I've been around a lot of these warriors. I have a great deal of respect for a lot of the military. May really surprise you. I've personally met with the Special Forces Corps General, interviewed him. I've seen their capabilities. Don't anyone lie to you. The Mexican military has the ability to take out these cartels. They always have, Chris. The problem is politically they have not been allowed to because of the corruption issue, as you well just brought up. So I don't see that part of it happening. Where I do see issues is they've been trying to prevent. They understand how overrun they've become, how powerful these cartels have become.
Yeah.
And that's why they knew. And look, validation as look at what just happened. This is a great example, but also the strategy behind this now moving in 2026. This operation, what everyone needs to understand, is now this is going to degrade these cartels tremendously because all of these savages are going to be shooting and killing one another. That's fine. Let's let them kill one another. That's what we want. Get them away from the population, get them away from people, let them fight it out, see who the next bosses are, but then use network theory, going after the key players, not just going after the bosses. We had to go after El Mencho because he was directly involved in the day-to-day operations.
Right.
But now it's about going after the rotten politicians, the rotten lawyers, the rotten CPAs who Americans never hear about, who really run the background day-to-day operations for many of these cartels. And that's the real key. Who you see them going after determines where they're really falling and we're making a difference or whether we're not. And one part that I will tell you that I'm very concerned about from the US government side, we have lost because most of them are my close friends. I've worked with everyone from the CIA down, as you can see from some of these awards from the DIA and others behind me going after these cartels when I was in government. And what I can tell you is we have lost many of the best who understand the secondary and third impacts when you kill someone or you arrest them, how that impacts the organizations because it's very family organized. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
We've lost that capability in our government. You have probably, and I'm not kidding you, a dozen men and women who are truly experts that understand, and they've scattered them to the winds. That is very critical to determining whether we go after the right people or not. But I will give a lot of credit to the United States and most credit to the Mexican army right here and General Travilla, who's a secretary down there, who did an amazing job day before
Yeah.
yesterday going
And
after El Mencho.
I'm just very concerned about the financing that you brought up and China's
Yeah.
role in doing that because the United States could do a lot of damage economically to their ability to move around money, but they're getting a lot of help because China wants to sow the chaos the cartels bring. Jaeson Jones, everybody, internationally renowned border intelligence specialist. You can watch him on Newsmax. Buddy, it's always great to catch up with you. Thanks for coming on.
It's an honor to be with you, Chris. Thanks for having me, buddy. Good to be with you.
Thank you, pal.